Texas Republicans are undermining fair elections and drawing new maps that they hope will save their majority in Congress. President Trump calls it a simple redrawing.
Are you calling then for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
But there's a bit more to it than that. President Trump wants to stack the deck against Democrats to prevent us from retaking the House of Representatives, and his scheme starts in Texas. I was a voting rights litigator at DOJ for nearly 15 years. I helped block Texas's discriminatory 2011 redistricting plan and the state's harsh voter ID law. The first thing to know about Texas is that it's already home to some of the worst gerrymandering in the country. Every decade since the 1970s, courts have found that at least one of Texas's maps violated the Constitution or the Voting Rights Act. In 2003, the Texas legislature drew its congressional map in the middle of the decade, just like it's doing now. Once again, that map was struck down by the Supreme Court as violating the Voting Rights Act. Between 2010 and 2020, Texas grew enough to get 4 new congressional seats, but white residents made up less than 5% of that growth. Even so, in 2021, Texas drew its map to avoid creating any new districts where minority voters could elect the candidates they preferred.
Texas, unfortunately, shamefully, has a history of passing racially discriminatory maps, gerrymandered maps on a racial basis that have disenfranchised African American, Hispanic, and Asian American communities in Texas. And that's not me saying that, that's federal courts that have said that repeatedly over the last decade.
The Justice Department challenged the map under the Voting Rights Act, but the Trump administration dropped the case. Now, President Trump is telling Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Texas Republicans to make a bad map much worse. He's telling Texas officials that they need to adopt a map drawn in DC. And Republicans are bending the knee, telling President Trump it's just fine for a New Yorker to mess with Texas. Here's how. Governor Abbott has called a 30-day special legislative session. After flooding claimed over 100 lives, Texas Democrats want to focus on disaster response and prevention. But for Governor Abbott, the first priority is redistricting. Republicans want the same votes that won them 25 of 38 seats in 2024 to give them 30 of 38 seats in 2026. And they'll probably do this using the same tricks that Republican map drawers used in 2021. Number 1, packing. They cram as many Democrats as possible into dense urban districts. Democratic members of Congress win by 30, 40, or 50 points, and Democrats have less impact on surrounding districts. Next up, cracking. They spread the remaining Democrats across as many districts as they can, so that Democrats don't form a majority in any of those districts. Then there's stacking. They pair struggling communities that support Democrats with wealthier voters who turn out at higher rates.
What this legislature historically has done is what they plan to do again, dilute the voices of people of color in order to make sure that they can get to where they're trying to go. We know that the courts, ever since we've had a Voting Rights Act, have always found this state to be intentionally discriminatory. That is what they are going to do.
Stacking creates the illusion of majority working class support, but still gives Republicans the upper hand at the ballot box. And finally, sometimes they just carve Democratic voters out of swing districts. That all sounds like cheating, because it is. President Trump has held private calls with Texas Republicans to demand they move forward with this redistricting scheme, even as Texas Republicans privately fret about the redraw costing them their seats. And because Republicans are using the floods as an excuse for this special session, they're using Texans as pawns in the political short term, just so they can hurt them even more in the long term by electing more Republicans and passing more unpopular legislation.